That little see the little tiny sliver in the middle of it? The little thing looks like a flag on its side? That's it. That's the part of D.C. you are advised to segregate yourself within if you are visiting Washington, D.C. for the anniversary of the I Have a Dream speech. Joining us now is Pulitzer Prize-winning columnist for The Washington Post and MSNBC contributor and D.C. resident Eugene Robinson. Gene, thanks very much for your time.
Good to be here, Rachel.
If you avoided all the places in D.C. that the main Tea Party wants you to avoid, what would your experience of Washington, D.C. be like?
It wouldn't. Well, you wouldn't see much of the city. Obviously, you'd spend a lot of time trying to get to places accessible only on the green and yellow lines by way of the red line, but only the red line to Union Station. So I don't know what you're supposed to do when you get to Union Station. Get on a train and get out of town immediately. I think. Look, this is obviously scaring white people part two, and what they have done is essentially try to put off limits any parts of the city where these main Tea Partiers believe you might be more likely to encounter, dare I say, black people.
What are some of the things that you would miss if you were sincerely going to cut the green and yellow lines out of your life?
Well, let's see. You couldn't go to the D.C. waterfront or the Arena Stage, one of the great theaters in the nation's capital. If you took seriously their proscription about where you can go on the red line, of course, you couldn't go to Catholic University, to the National Shrine, the grandest Catholic basilica in Washington. I could go on and on. You'd miss the whole U Street scene, which is the most happening kind of nightlife and restaurant scene in town, and of course you would miss the newly gentrifying 8th Street corridor, which is the kind of really hippest, most cutting-edge part of town. But you don't want to see any of that. You want to be afraid, and you want to stay in this little kind of safe zone.
Well, you can tell my feelings about this by the way I introduced it. I know, rare. But it does seem particularly amazing to me to have this stay away from all the parts of the city where you might encounter black people instruction when they are going to a rally that is on the occasion of the 1963 March on Washington and the I Have a Dream speech. I have to ask your reaction to the overall setting here, hosting a sort of conservative take-back civil rights rally on this occasion.
I have two reactions, I guess, Rachel. Number one, this is being put on by Glenn Beck, who I think his main purpose here is self-aggrandizement on an almost Napoleonic scale. I mean, and so I think that's really a large part of what this is about. Now, a lot of people will come, be like a Tea Party rally, I think, in that there will be some racist elements, there will be some crazies, and there will also be a lot of people who are animated by perhaps diffuse sense of grievance, who just happen to have picked the wrong Pied Piper, and so those are the people for whom I guess I feel a bit sorry, because I think in the end Glenn Beck is out for himself, and they're going to be kind of left with their grievances unaddressed and feeling worse about the political process and worse about everything than before.
And not to mention strict instructions not to visit the Constitution.
Plus, they're not going to have any fun in Washington. then again, we'll all be able to eat at Ben's Chili Bowl because there won't be any out-of-towners there, so there'll be more for us.
That's Mr. Silver Lining does it again. Well done, Eugene Robinson. Thanks a lot, Gene. I really appreciate it.
Good to be here, Rachel.
Gene, of course, is a Pulitzer Prize-winning columnist for The Washington Post and an MSNBC contributor.